A very big week ahead is the warning of the day, and as we'll be getting into in today's video, there are a few very specific things that are happening on Bitcoin right now that I think are going to catch a lot of people off guard. We'll be going over areas of interest for this current move and essentially what to expect over the next, I guess, week or two of price action. Anyways, before we get into that, I should let you know that because it is officially Black Friday week, or it's Thanksgiving week, at least we do have a sale going on for all of the programs and services in our Teachable School. I'll release a video a little bit later today, kind of going more into detail for this because I don't want to get super in the weeds here on a video like this. I want to focus this on, of course, price action, but I do want to let you know that you can actually get the Quant Prime with 25% off on all subscription payments, which is something that we have not done in a long time, and that is probably the best long-term deal that we'll do. And that service, again, is for people out there who want to create, test, and automate your trades, all having it done kind of, for you by our lovely strategy tester. All right, sweet. Speaking of strategy tester, let's actually jump into this right in over here. And first things first, because it is Monday, we should be aware that the Monday strategy is valid yet again, as Bitcoin, no, not Bitcoin, but the time itself has ticked towards 00 UTC, which if we go ahead and backtest throughout the full history of Bitcoin, which I have actually right here, you can see that this has offered up a very, 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 very nice equity curve since the dawn of time for Bitcoin, especially in recent times as well, I should say. If you even just look at the chart, you can see the last 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks were actually pretty decent winners, especially this one right here, which did close about an $8,000 trade. Not bad. Anyways, the point that I'm trying to make right now is that we have yet another one of these setups, which theoretically, or not theoretically, but technically speaking, does have about a 50% probability to close profitably. But again, because the average returns for the winning trades significantly outweigh the average returns for the losing trades, this yields a nice positive equity curve over time. So, four winning trades in a row, it is gambler's fallacy to say, hey, maybe this one does fail. But I do think that it does technically offer up a slightly better than 50% probability that Bitcoin will actually close positively here to the tune of, I believe on average, if we look into it right here, 4.25% is the average return for those winning trades. So let's just see what that would look like on top of current price action. Could be a guide for the next day and a half. And what do you know? $102,000. Again, this strategy is very, very simple. All it is it's opening a long at 00 UTC on Monday and then closing that long at 10 a.m. UTC on Tuesday. So very, very simple right here. And again, this is just actually a pretty damn good demonstration of using this tool, the Quant Prime service, which you can actually set up and automate for yourself if you so desire. Anyways, moving on from there and keep that number in the back of your mind, 102. It's going to pop up a few more times. So over this weekend, we were looking for a little bit of a correction based off of Saturday's video and also I think a tweet I put out maybe late Friday or early Saturday, something like that as well. That was based off of many drives of bearish divergence coming on our 4-hour time frame, our 6-hour time frame, all lower term time frames, kind of suggesting that Bitcoin was going to go into a bit of a consolidation. I think very, very obviously seen right here. We have now seen Bitcoin have, a decent pullback, I suppose. I mean, to be fair, in terms of nominal numbers, yeah, it's big. In terms of percentage, it's not that big. I mean, 4% about from the high to the current low. But of course, when Bitcoin's trading at $100,000, that's going to be a $4,000 move, which is always going to be a $4,000 move. Anyways, it does look like Bitcoin is putting in the next higher low in this current trend as of right now for our medium and lower term timeframes. The 4-hour time frame has gone into a full-on contraction phase on volatility, and while that's been happening off of a higher low, we do see that there is hidden bullish divergence coming in off of this low right here. The 6-hour time frame is actually about the same as well. We do see that same drive of hidden bullish divergence. In fact, it is the third drive in this whole succession, so theoretically should be good. And we should be expecting the 6-hour RSI to reach back into the bullish control zone right here. So ultimately, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say this in combination with the setup over here for Monday probably does offer up, the likelihood that Bitcoin's more likely to try another move to the upside off of this higher low. So what am I trying to say? We've probably seen the low in terms of price for that correction that we were looking for over the weekends. And being that this is a holiday week, I mean, a lot of the time things just kind of do float up and to the right during these holiday times. But looking at it right now, we could come up with a bit of a range here. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, it's actually quite obvious. Let me just mark it off right here, and then we'll talk about potential targets upon confirmation. To the upside, a nice boundary just below 99,000 bucks, technically at 98,800. 98,800 is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I said that exactly perfectly. Into the downside, we'd be looking at about 95,625. So as long as Bitcoin's between these two boundaries, nothing really new is happening. Still would have to have an overall bullish bias as far as I'm concerned. But if you do see Bitcoin, of course, close below 95,625 on a 4-hour time frame, there's my little bot working in the background. Good job, bot. I do want to wait. Yeah, there. Okay, we're all good. Jesus, my heart skipped a beat for a second there. But yes, if Bitcoin does close below this lower boundary, we'll talk about targets to the downside and what that can look like emerging from here. Of course, always a possibility. And of course, to the upside, if Bitcoin does break above about 98,800, again, on a 4-hour time frame closing basis, then where would be our next area of interest? Well, sorry, let me actually get this exactly right, which I did not do exactly right there. There we go. Yes, we can see that the Fibonacci extension would be pointed up towards about 101,000 bucks as the next major area of interest, along the way there. So it would seem that, again, if Bitcoin reclaims this region, 100,000 or 6-digit plus Bitcoin is inevitable. I shouldn't say inevitable, but extremely likely, extremely likely. Even all the way up to the 2 extension right here, 102,200. Again, that actually correlates incredibly well with the average return from the Monday strategy, which again only has a slightly above 50% probability to play out, but again, one thing before the next. If you do see a closure above this region right here, actually it's more like about 98,900, not 98,800. Now that I zero in it a little bit more, probably looking somewhere around 101 to 102 overall, maybe a bit of a short-term pullback after that. Let me just make sure that I'm also referencing my notes properly here. Yes, okay, there we go. We'll get into downside areas of interest in a moment here, but before that, I also want to say that on the weekly HPDR for CME, what do you know? The top side of our current range at the 88.3 level is where? 102,300. Did I say that right? 102,300. It's gonna get really fucking difficult to say these bigger numbers, especially if Bitcoin starts, really blowing its load here. But yeah, we've seen that 102 region, let's call it, pop up many times now, many times. So does Bitcoin make a shot up, towards that region this week? Perhaps yes. I would be expecting a little bit of a short-term pullback there, and then if things are really going to get crazy, we'd be expecting closures above there. And at that point, you're probably looking at somewhere around $110,000. But one thing before the next, of course. Now, to the downside, if Bitcoin does break this lower boundary to the downside, I think it's a little bit less likely, but of course, need to prepare for such things if it does happen. Where would be the likely low of this dumbola party or this correction? Well, very likely the top side of the 78.6 level, which is about 93.5. Let's see what it looks like on spot price action. Spot price action a little bit more lenient here, showing about 94,200. I think that's actually a little bit more right. So if you did see a quick move down to 94,200, very likely would be looking for a bounce around there. And the weekly on spot price action, I guess this really could get crazy this week or even next week. It really seems like it's been just straight up here, and it has been straight up here. What's 4 weeks in a row? Do we ever see 4 weeks in a row of straight up? Let's actually go ahead and just visually backtest this for a moment here. I did not prepare this, but just it is interesting to kind of analyze sequential closures. We had 4 here, but it was broken up by 1 in between there, and in between that run. This one 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, correction. 1, 2, 3, 4, correction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one pretty nice right here, but not as big as what we've seen thus far. So yeah, just kind of doing it by hand. seems, like we're getting kind of deep into this one. But we have actually seen more sequential rallies than this before. Of course, we could also just use the CT sequential, but I don't actually have it prepared for this video. Anyways, what else do I want to get into? Yes. Okay. So while I do think that Bitcoin, again, is likely to reach new highs here, probably make a nice sharp move into the 6-digit territory between this week and essentially the first week of December, I do want to really be on the board here and a little bit more aggressive, saying that, hey, there are a lot of warning signals in the background right now, that this rally it's very mature. It's very mature. And I'm not saying the bull market's going to end or anything like that, but when Bitcoin does put in the next major daily high, what's going to happen after that? You're going to get a daily low, and it's very likely going to be a higher low. But the problem is, because we're dealing with such big numbers, you can get a higher low that is so far down from current price action that it would be really fucking scary to most people, even for the veterans who've been here for a long time. Anytime you see like a $20,000 to $30,000 move, that's a fucking $20,000 or $30,000 move. It's a big deal, even though percentage-wise, it's kind of in alignment with what we've seen in the past for Bitcoin. But if Bitcoin, first let me go over the signals again. Daily BWP. We've already hit one extreme right here. I suspect on this next move to the upside, maybe this week, probably this week, maybe the week after that, we will see around another extreme level hit, whether that be 95 percentile or even all the way up to 100 percentile. Extremely strong major top signal. Again, not calling a cycle top. I don't think the bull market's over or anything like that, but you're going to get a daily pullback, and you're going to get a daily pullback very likely into a higher low. And that can, I should also say the 2-day time frame, same thing. Already hit extremes right here. Don't think that this one goes for the double dirt, but ultimately, we're seeing the daily and 2-day align with each other. 3-day time frame also at extremes, not going into contraction just yet, but hey, timing wise, we're very, very close to the next major high. 5-day time frame is also now getting into the 90 percentiles as of this, as of this current period. It is at 93.39, and the weekly is still actually kind of lagging here at about 82 percentile. So that's why I do say long term, I don't think the rally's done just yet. It's very likely to lead into kind of a short term high, pop back down early December, let's say, put in a higher low, make another major move to the upside, and then we see extreme. And that's when have to really be on the ball as to, okay, this is significant. But we'll get to that bridge when we cross it, or the forest, or whatever the fuck. I don't know which aphorism to use for that, but where did I want to get into now? Yeah, again, just talking about correction. Again, very much in advance of it actually happening. Still, it could look something like this. Like Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin could very easily get, like I said, like a blow off towards even like 110,000 on this current move. And then come back down, and it could very easily come all the way back down to like 88,000 bucks. And again, percentage wise, how big of a move would that be? That'd be a 22% move. 22% move is actually the average correction that we've seen during this last, or not this last, but this whole bull market since it began in 2023. So it's not out of the question here. It's not anything out of the ordinary if Bitcoin were to get something like that. I'm not saying it has to, but just for argument's sake, again, for the people who are kind of late to this rally right now, yes, I do think it does continue a little bit more, but just be very, very aware of your emotions during this next move, because it's probably going to be a pretty crazy one, and it's going to suck a lot of people in and then spit a lot of people out. But Bitcoin's played out a 20% move right here on this correction, played out 20% move right here on this correction, 22 by the way. This one over here, again, another 22% correction. This one over here, another 21% correction, and then several 20% corrections within the last 8 months in this overall range. So what I'm trying to say is, look, it's gonna get fucking crazier. And even if you see like a $20,000 to $25,000 move to the downside, that's actually not out of the ordinary in terms of what to expect for a Bitcoin correction. So, wrapping up my thoughts on this video. Short-term continuation to the upside, still more likely. Would like to see Bitcoin, of course, break above the top side of the 4-hour range first for confirmation, about 98,900. And then very likely we get a move into the 6 digits. That can obviously, I mean, very likely hits at least 102, probably pushes even perhaps all the way to, 110 or somewhere around there, give or take a little bit. And then we get a big sort of blow off, and then Bitcoin cools off, starts an actual downside move and sets in a daily higher low, which is going to scare the ever living shit out of everyone. So yeah, I think we've hit all of the notes right here. Well, we don't really have anything up to update with this 5-day setup. I mean, fired off many moons ago, about a couple months ago almost now. Still active as long as Bitcoin's above the 5 exponential, which is 89,000 bucks right now. Kind of crazy. Anyways, yeah, as I end this video, I should also let you know, just a quick shout out actually here to MetaSignals, which does offer up just straight up free signals like this, which you can find in the link in the description below. Actually called that weekend correction pretty damn well here for Solana, which probably spills on over to all other majors as well. But yeah, if you're interested in such things, check it out in the link description below. Spits out all of these probabilistic setups that you can take however you want, and it's free. It's free. Anyways, that's where we'll end things for today. As always, I want to wish everyone the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.